Ethan had never imagined he would travel so far from Earth. The stars outside his ship stretched endlessly, and the colors of space seemed alive, shimmering in ways that no human eye had ever truly seen. He adjusted his gloves nervously as he prepared for his first steps on Veora, a planet known throughout the galaxy for its beauty and the mysterious alien people who lived there. His mission was simple in thought but difficult in execution. Deliver a small gift to Princess Lyra, the daughter of the Veoran royal family. It was a simple music box, carved carefully from Earth's finest maple and polished until it gleamed. To Ethan, it was just a small token of goodwill, but he had no idea what impact it would have. As his shuttle touched down, he noticed the city rising like a forest of crystals. Towers of translucent blue and silver stretched high into the sky, reflecting the light of the twin suns. Floating platforms hovered gracefully, carrying citizens from one crystal tower to another. The air smelled faintly sweet, like flowers he had never known, and a soft hum seemed to rise from the ground itself. Ethan felt both awe and fear. This was a world unlike anything he had ever imagined, a world of alien perfection. He stepped onto the landing platform, and immediately, guards appeared. They were tall, with smooth, iridescent skin that shifted color in the sunlight. Their eyes were large and glowing, giving them a strange, unblinking presence. Ethan held the music box close, reminding himself why he had come. "You are the human," one of the guards said in a voice that was almost musical. "The princess expects you." Ethan nodded, his throat dry. He had rehearsed a greeting 100 times, but now, standing before beings whose appearances alone seemed designed to impress and intimidate, words felt inadequate. He followed the guards through the city, feeling the soft hum of energy beneath his feet. Everywhere he looked, the citizens of Veora paused to watch him, their eyes full of curiosity and suspicion. Humans were rare here, and many believed them to be primitive, incapable of understanding the ways of the galaxy. Finally, he reached the Hall of Stars, a grand building carved entirely from crystal. Light reflected and refracted across the walls, creating a dazzling display that made Ethan's eyes ache. And there she was, Princess Lyra. She stood on a platform at the center of the hall, her presence commanding yet elegant. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her hair flowed behind her like a ribbon of light. Her eyes, deep and curious, seemed to look right through him. "Human," she said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of authority. "I hear you have brought me a gift." Ethan swallowed hard and held out the music box. "It's a small gift, Princess," he said. "From Earth." Lyra reached out and took the music box carefully, examining it with a mixture of curiosity and mild skepticism. The court around her whispered and shifted, unsure what to make of the simple human object. Aliens were used to elaborate shimmering artifacts created by generations of artisans, not small tokens from a distant species. Ethan took a deep breath and gently opened the box. A delicate melody filled the hall, soft and strange, carrying a warmth that the crystal walls had never heard before. The music was simple, but it touched something deep inside Lyra. Her eyes widened slightly and a small smile formed on her lips. The court murmured, some in disbelief, others in quiet admiration. None had expected such an effect from a human gift. "Where did you learn to make this?" Lyra asked, her tone no longer skeptical. There was genuine interest in her voice. "On Earth," Ethan said, surprised she asked. "I learned it from my grandfather. He said music has a way of connecting people." Lyra studied him for a long moment. There was something different about him, she realized. Humans were fragile, yet this one carried confidence and purpose. His courage to travel across the galaxy and bring a gift, simple though it was, showed a kind of bravery that many Veorans lacked. "You may stay for a while," Lyra said finally, to the surprise of her court. "I wish to learn more about this human and his ways." Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and excitement. This was more than he could have hoped for. As he followed her through the Hall of Stars, he noticed her eyes occasionally glancing back at the music box, as if trying to understand why something so small could have such an effect. For the first time, Ethan felt that humans were not as small and fragile as the universe often believed. In this moment, standing beside an alien princess in a hall of crystal, he realized that even the tiniest gift given with care and heart could open doors no one expected. And he had a feeling that this small gift would change much more than just a day in the life of a princess. As the suns began to set, casting long shadows across the crystal towers, Lyra turned to him with a look that was both thoughtful and bright. "Perhaps humans are not as simple as my people think," she said quietly. "Perhaps there is more to them than I realized." Ethan smiled, the weight of fear slowly lifting from his shoulders. This was only the beginning, he knew. The galaxy was vast, and his small gift had just started a chain of events that neither he nor Lyra could have imagined. Lyra led Ethan through the sparkling streets of Veora, her movements graceful and precise yet filled with an energy that seemed almost human. Citizens paused to watch the human and the princess together, whispering among themselves. Some were curious, others skeptical, and a few were openly critical. Aliens of Veora were not used to seeing their princess spend time with a human. It was considered unusual, even reckless. Ethan felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had expected formal greetings and stiff ceremonies, but instead he found himself walking beside someone who was genuinely interested in him. "Your city is incredible," he said, looking up at the towering crystal structures and the floating platforms. "I have never seen anything like it." Lyra smiled faintly. "It is beautiful, yes, but beauty alone does not make life meaningful. Tell me, human, what is life like on your planet?" Ethan hesitated, thinking carefully. He wanted to explain, but words seemed small compared to the brilliance of Veora. "Life is very different," he said finally. "We do not have towers of crystal or floating gardens or suns that shine like yours. But we try to create beauty in small ways. Music, art, stories, things that connect us, that remind us who we are." Lyra listened closely, her eyes never leaving him. She had spent her life surrounded by power, protocol, and perfection. Humans, she realized, lived with flaws, yet they created meaning despite them. There was courage in that, and a kind of strength she had not seen in her court. As they walked, Lyra brought him to the central plaza, a vast open space filled with floating lanterns that glowed softly even in the bright light of the suns. Children played near the edges, laughing and weaving among the adults. The air was filled with a subtle, harmonious hum, the natural energy of Veora mixing with the gentle sounds of the city. Ethan watched in awe, feeling a sense of peace he had not known he could feel on an alien planet. "Your people seem connected," he said after a while. "Everyone works together and the city feels alive." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, we are taught to value harmony, but sometimes I wonder if we value perfection too much. We focus so much on order and strength that we forget the simple things that make life real." "Perhaps humans remind me of that," Ethan smiled. He had not expected to teach a princess about life, but here he was, sharing ideas that seemed to surprise even her. "Sometimes the smallest things matter the most," he said. "A gift, a song, a kind word, they can change how people feel, even the strongest people." Lyra stopped walking and studied him carefully. "You speak with honesty," she said. "It is rare for humans to speak without fear or ambition. I find that refreshing." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of commotion from the plaza's edge. A group of Veoran citizens had gathered, pointing to the sky. Ethan followed their gaze and saw distant shapes moving quickly, small dark ships that did not belong to Veora. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Rogues," she said quietly. "They are attempting to enter our space without permission. They are known for stealing and destruction." Panic rippled through the plaza as the citizens scrambled for safety. Ethan felt a surge of fear, but also a strange determination. He had come this far, and now he could not run from what was happening. Lyra's hand rested briefly on his shoulder, a silent gesture of trust and encouragement. Ethan looked up at her. "What do we do?" he asked. Lyra's expression hardened, but there was a spark of excitement in her eyes. "We will not hide. We will face them, but not as many think. We will use our minds, not just our strength." As the rogue ships drew closer, Lyra led Ethan through narrow streets and overflowing walkways. She pointed out defensive towers and energy shields, explaining how the city was protected. Yet she also trusted Ethan, allowing him to see gaps and patterns that even her experienced advisors had missed. Together they began to form a plan, a combination of Veoran technology and human ingenuity. Hours passed as they worked side by side, moving with precision and urgency. Citizens began to notice, and whispers spread. The princess had taken a human into her confidence, teaching him secrets and listening to his ideas. Some scoffed at the thought, believing it foolish. Others quietly admired the courage and creativity they saw in this unusual pair. By the time the suns began to set, casting long golden reflections across the crystal towers. Lyra and Ethan had prepared the city for the approaching threat. It was a tense calm, the kind that comes just before a storm. Citizens watched from safe vantage points, unsure of what would happen next. Ethan felt a mix of fear and pride. He had traveled across the galaxy with a small gift and an uncertain hope, and now he was part of something far greater than himself. Lyra turned to him, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the setting suns. "You are not what I expected, human," she said. "You are clever, brave, and unafraid to see what others ignore. Perhaps your gift was not just a melody, but a key to opening a mind." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He did not fully understand the path ahead, but he knew one thing. He would face it with courage. And for the first time, he felt that humanity, small and imperfect though it might be, could make a difference in the vastness of the galaxy. The Festival of Light was Veora's most celebrated event, a time when the entire city seemed to glow from within. Floating lanterns rose into the sky like stars. Music and laughter filled the streets, and the hum of energy from the crystal towers created a feeling of magic that even humans could sense. Lyra had promised Ethan he would see the festival as few outsiders ever had, and he felt both awe and nervous excitement as he followed her through the shimmering streets. Citizens and visitors crowded the plaza, their voices blending into a cheerful chorus. Lyra moved with elegance, her eyes scanning the crowd for signs of disorder, while Ethan marveled at the designs and colors of the lanterns. Each one was unique, a delicate creation glowing softly, and the reflection of thousands of lanterns on the crystal towers made the city appear alive, like a living jewel. But the celebration, so perfect and serene, was about to be interrupted. A distant hum grew louder, unnatural and threatening. Ethan's heart skipped a beat as he spotted small black ships hovering at the edges of the city's protective perimeter. His stomach tightened. The rogue fleet had come sooner than expected. Lyra's expression hardened as she recognized the ships immediately. "They are here," she said quietly, her voice steady. "Do not panic. Follow me." The plaza erupted into alarm as the citizens noticed the intruders. Some began to flee while others attempted to hide. Ethan instinctively clutched the small music box in his pocket, the one he had given Lyra. Somehow, it felt as if the tiny object, simple though it was, could remind him of hope amidst fear. Lyra led him through the floating walkways, explaining the city's defenses. Energy barriers and automated drones lined the streets, but she also admitted the fleet was clever and fast. "They know our patterns," she said, her voice low. "Brute force alone will not stop them. We must be smart." Ethan nodded, taking in every detail. He had never faced a battle of this scale, but his mind worked quickly. He noticed small gaps in the energy barriers where the drone's rotations left blind spots. "We could use these gaps to guide them into traps," he suggested cautiously. "They won't expect something that clever if it looks like chaos." Lyra studied him closely, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "You are thinking like a strategist," she said. "Most humans would panic or hide. You see opportunity in what others see as danger." As the rogue ships entered the city, chaos erupted. Citizens screamed and drones whirred to life, firing pulses of energy to intercept the attackers. The ships maneuvered skillfully, avoiding many of the defenses, and a few managed to land near the crystal towers, attempting to steal precious artifacts. Ethan felt his fear rise, but Lyra remained calm, her focus absolute. "Follow my lead," she instructed, moving with swift precision through the streets. She guided Ethan to a vantage point overlooking the central plaza, where the largest concentration of attackers had landed. "We must think quickly. They expect to overpower us, but they underestimate creativity." Ethan's mind raced. He thought of the music box, of the melody it played, of the way simple things could have unexpected power. Then he saw a pattern. The ship's engines emitted a consistent frequency, almost like a mechanical heartbeat. Perhaps he thought there was a way to disrupt it. "Princess," he said, "if we can interfere with their engines using sound or vibration, we might slow them down long enough for the drones to trap them." Lyra's eyes widened with understanding. "You mean using something small to make a big difference?" "Yes," Ethan said, pointing to the music box. "It's simple, but we could amplify the principle. Even a small change in frequency can create chaos in their systems." Lyra smiled faintly. "Then let us try. Humanity's small gifts may yet save a city." Together they worked quickly, moving through the plaza and directing drones to position near the attackers. Ethan adjusted settings on a portable device Lyra provided, using the music box's structure as a guide. The hum of energy around them seemed to sync with their effort, almost as if the city itself supported their plan. When everything was ready, Ethan activated the device. A strange vibration pulsed through the air, invisible but powerful. One by one, the rogue ships faltered. Engines sputtered, communication scrambled, and chaos spread through the attacking fleet. The drones, guided by Lyra's precise commands, struck at the immobilized ships, forcing them to retreat. Citizens cheered cautiously, their eyes wide with disbelief. Ethan exhaled heavily, feeling both relief and amazement. Lyra turned to him, her eyes bright and full of admiration. "You see," she said softly, "strength is not only in power. Sometimes it is in cleverness, courage, and trust." Ethan smiled, realizing that in this alien world, the bond between human ingenuity and Veoran might have saved countless lives. The Festival of Light had become a test of bravery, and humans, once underestimated, had played a part no one could ignore. As the last of the rogue ships fled into the distance, Lyra placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You have shown me something important," she said. "Even the smallest gift can change the fate of many." Ethan nodded, feeling a new sense of purpose. This was only the beginning. Together, he and Lyra would face challenges no one else could imagine, and the galaxy would soon learn that humans were far more capable than anyone had believed. The city of Veora had survived the attack, but the victory felt temporary. Lyra walked with Ethan through the quiet streets after the Festival of Light, the floating lanterns still shimmering faintly in the crystal towers. Citizens had returned to their homes, but whispers of the attack and the strange human who had helped save the city lingered in every corner. Lyra felt a mix of pride and unease. The rogue ships had been only a small part of a much larger threat. Somewhere beyond the stars, forces were gathering that could challenge the safety of the entire galaxy. Ethan followed silently, carrying his small music box, now a symbol of unexpected power. He had never thought a simple gift could lead to such consequences, and he was beginning to understand that his role on Veora was far greater than he had imagined. Lyra stopped at the edge of a high platform overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting, casting long streaks of gold and purple across the crystal towers. She turned to him, her eyes serious. "We cannot rely on the city's defenses alone. The rogues were clever, but they were only scouts. There is a larger force behind them, and they will return." Ethan nodded, his mind already racing. "We need to understand them, learn their plans before they strike again. Perhaps there is a weakness we can exploit." Lyra studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. Then she smiled faintly, a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. "You think like a human strategist. That is refreshing. Most of my advisors would focus only on strength and force. They would underestimate creativity." Together they entered the Hall of Stars where the Council of Veora gathered. Lyra had already spoken to the council, explaining that she wanted to try a new approach, combining human ingenuity with Veoran technology. Some council members were skeptical, their expressions rigid. Others were curious, quietly observing the unusual partnership between the princess and the human. "We must prepare for what is coming," Lyra said, her voice firm. "We cannot rely solely on shields and drones. We need strategy, cleverness, and innovation. That is why I am consulting with this human. He sees things differently, and his perspective may save us all." Ethan felt a sudden rush of anxiety. Speaking to the council was one thing. Earning their trust was another. Yet as he glanced at Lyra, he saw determination in her eyes, and it gave him courage. He began to outline his observations from the attack. The rogue ship's engine patterns, the blind spots in the city's defenses, and the weaknesses he had noticed in the formation of the attackers. Some council members scoffed quietly, muttering that a human could not understand the complexities of Veoran defense systems. But Lyra's steady gaze kept their attention focused. "Listen," she said, "we cannot dismiss what he offers. Humans may be small, but they can surprise even the most powerful beings." Hours passed as they worked together, studying maps, simulations, and the movement of past attacks. Lyra noticed that Ethan had a knack for seeing patterns that others overlooked. Where the Veoran advisors saw routine, he saw opportunity. Where they relied on power, he relied on thinking ahead. Slowly the council began to take note. Some whispered among themselves, acknowledging that perhaps the princess's choice was not foolish after all. By nightfall, Lyra and Ethan had formed a plan. They would not wait for the rogue fleet to return blindly. Instead, they would create a system of traps, using the city's energy fields and drones in ways the attackers would not expect. The key, Ethan suggested, was not to confront them directly at first, but to disrupt their coordination, forcing them to make mistakes. Lyra considered his plan carefully. "It is bold," she said finally, "and it requires trust. We must rely on your instincts, human, as well as the skill of our people. If this succeeds, it will not only protect Veora, but demonstrate a new way of thinking for the galaxy." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. He had never imagined that his knowledge and perspective could play such a vital role, yet he knew he could not fail. Together they went through every detail, rehearsing the positions of drones, energy fields, and signals. Lyra's confidence in him made him braver, and he began to see that courage was not only about facing danger, it was about believing in your own ideas. As the city settled into the quiet of the night, Lyra walked beside him along the crystal pathways. "You have changed something within me," she admitted softly. "I see possibilities I never imagined, not because of strength, but because of thought and creativity. That is something my people must learn, or we will always remain limited." Ethan smiled. "Sometimes the smallest actions matter the most," he said. "Even a simple gift can start a chain of events that changes everything." Lyra looked at the music box in his hands and then back at him. "Perhaps you are right," she said, "and perhaps humanity is far stronger than anyone has believed." Together they stood on the high platform, looking out across the glittering city, knowing that the future was uncertain. But for the first time, both human and alien felt a spark of hope. They had discovered that partnership, courage, and creativity could overcome challenges that raw power alone could not. The galaxy was vast, the threats numerous, but with trust and intelligence, they could face anything. And in that moment, a bond was formed, one that would not only guide the future of Veora, but also inspire a new understanding between humans and the stars beyond. The day of the final confrontation arrived with a heavy calm. The twin suns of Veora glinted off the crystal towers, casting long shadows over the streets. Citizens moved quietly, sensing the tension in the air. The rogue fleet, now fully revealed, hovered at the edge of the city's perimeter. Unlike the small scouts before, this group was larger, better armed, and more organized. Lyra and Ethan stood together on a high platform, watching every movement, analyzing every shift of light and shadow. Lyra turned to Ethan. "This is the moment. We must act, but not with force alone. We have something they do not expect." Ethan nodded, gripping the small music box tightly. The device seemed fragile, almost insignificant compared to the massive fleet before them. Yet he knew that it held a secret, the principle of resonance. During the festival attack, they had discovered that sound could disrupt mechanical systems if applied carefully. Now, with Veoran technology and careful planning, that principle could be amplified. They moved through the streets, giving last instructions to the drone pilots and energy field operators. Every position was precise, every timing calculated. Lyra's confidence inspired the Veoran forces. Citizens watched from safe vantage points, whispering in amazement as the princess and the human worked together with a clarity and determination that few had ever seen. Ethan adjusted a device connected to the music box, aligning frequencies with the city's energy grid. Lyra helped, her hands steady as she connected nodes and calibrated the system. Together, they created a network of sound and energy that could interfere with the rogue ship's engines and communications. It was a delicate balance. If mistimed, it could backfire. But both felt a thrill at the challenge. As the rogue fleet began to advance, Ethan activated the system. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The ships moved confidently, expecting to face only the city's traditional defenses. Then slowly, the engines began to falter. Communication scrambled. Sensors glitched. The fleet's coordination crumbled under the subtle but precise interference. Lyra's eyes sparkled with excitement. "It is working," she shouted. The smallest things can have the greatest effect. The Veoran drones, guided by Lyra's orders, moved in to take advantage of the chaos. The rogue ships, unable to coordinate, collided or became easy targets. Citizens gasped as the once feared fleet faltered under the clever combination of human ingenuity and alien technology. Ethan felt a surge of pride and disbelief. A small gift from Earth, once thought simple and insignificant, had become the key to saving an entire city. The battle was tense but brief. The rogue leaders, realizing their plans had failed, attempted to retreat, but the disruption continued. Their ships faltered and faltered again until the majority had fled the city entirely. Cheers rose from the citizens as the last ship disappeared over the horizon. Lyra placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, her smile wide and genuine. "You see," she said softly, "strength is not always in power. It is in cleverness, courage, and the willingness to see possibilities where others see only danger." Ethan smiled, feeling the warmth of her words. He had crossed galaxies with a single small gift, and now it had saved countless lives. More importantly, he had shown that humans, often underestimated, could contribute in ways that even the most advanced alien civilizations could not predict. The Council of Veora, initially skeptical of Ethan, now stood in quiet awe. Some whispered words of admiration, acknowledging that the princess had made a wise choice in trusting him. Others still looked unsure, but even they could not deny the result. The city had survived against overwhelming odds thanks to the collaboration between human insight and Veoran strength. Lyra turned to the council and addressed them with authority and pride. "Today we have learned a lesson. It is not only technology or power that keeps us safe. Innovation, courage, and trust in those we might have underestimated can change the fate of all. This human, with a simple gift, has proven that even the smallest things can have the largest impact." Ethan felt a mix of relief and humility. He had not expected recognition. He had only wanted to offer a small token of goodwill. Yet now he realized that every thoughtful action, no matter how small, had the power to inspire and protect. As the city settled into a calm evening, the twin suns sinking below the horizon, Lyra and Ethan walked along the crystal pathways. Citizens waved, whispered, and smiled in gratitude. The princess and the human had formed a partnership that would be remembered for generations. Lyra glanced at the music box in Ethan's hands. "It is incredible," she said softly. "A small gift, a tiny melody, and yet it has changed everything." Ethan looked at her and smiled. Sometimes it is the smallest things that remind us of what we can do. Courage and thought, when combined, can move mountains or save cities. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with understanding. "Then perhaps this is just the beginning. Humans may be small, but they are full of surprises, and I think the galaxy will soon learn that." Together they stood in the soft glow of the city, knowing that their bond and their courage had altered the future. The music box, once a simple token, had become a symbol of hope, ingenuity, and the power of humanity to inspire and protect even in the farthest reaches of the stars. The city of Veora slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but the memory of the attack and the unusual partnership between Princess Lyra and Ethan lingered in every corner. Citizens whispered about the human who had helped their princess and the clever plan that had saved them all. Even the council, who had once doubted Ethan, now studied him with curiosity and cautious respect. Lyra moved through the Hall of Stars with a calm confidence that surprised even her advisors. Today she was not just a princess. She was a leader who had faced danger and used creativity and courage to protect her people. The council had gathered for an emergency meeting, and she had something important to announce. Ethan followed her silently, carrying the small music box. It had become more than a gift. It was a symbol of ingenuity and hope. The council members, their expressions a mixture of skepticism and intrigue, watched as the princess approached the center of the chamber. "Counselors," Lyra began, her voice steady and clear. "Today we faced a challenge unlike any we have seen before. Our city was threatened, and our people could have suffered greatly. Yet through courage, clever thinking, and trust in the unexpected, we have not only survived but learned something vital." The council listened closely, leaning forward in their seats. Some were still unsure, but the confidence in Lyra's tone demanded attention. She gestured toward Ethan. "This human, who came from a distant world with nothing but a small gift, helped me see what we have often overlooked. Humans are underestimated because they appear fragile, yet they possess creativity, determination, and courage that can change the course of events." A murmur ran through the council. Several members exchanged skeptical glances, unable to hide their disbelief that a human could contribute so much to the defense of Veora. Lyra continued undeterred. "Today we saw that strength is not only measured by power or technology. Strategy, innovation, and the willingness to act against convention can be just as important. Ethan's insights, combined with the courage of our people, have saved our city, and for that I thank him." Ethan shifted slightly, unsure how to respond. He had not expected such recognition, and yet, hearing Lyra's words filled him with pride. He realized that his journey, which began with a simple music box, had grown into something far greater than he had imagined. Lyra raised her hand, silencing the murmurs in the council. "I propose a new way forward," she said. "We must not only rely on tradition and strength. We must embrace creativity, trust, and collaboration with others, even those from distant worlds. Today has proven that unexpected allies can provide new solutions and inspire courage in ways we cannot anticipate." The room fell silent. Some counselors hesitated, still clinging to their old ideas, but many others nodded slowly. They could not deny the truth of what they had witnessed. The city had survived not because of superior firepower alone, but because its leaders had trusted ingenuity and courage, qualities they had often overlooked. Lyra turned to Ethan again, her expression softer now, filled with admiration. "You have reminded me that even the smallest gifts, when given with thought and heart, can have a tremendous impact. You have shown that humans are more than we believed, and perhaps through partnership we can face future challenges with strength and wisdom together." Ethan nodded, humbled. "I only tried to offer something meaningful. I never imagined it could do so much." "You have done more than you realize," Lyra said. "You have shown that courage is not measured by size or strength, but by the willingness to act, to think, and to believe in possibilities that others overlook." Outside the Hall of Stars, citizens had begun to gather, hearing the council's words and Lyra's declarations. They looked up at the crystal towers with renewed admiration, seeing their princess not just as a ruler, but as a leader who embraced new ideas, who was brave enough to trust and learn from those different from her own people. Ethan felt a sense of wonder as he looked out over the city. He had traveled across the galaxy with nothing but hope, and now he realized that humanity could inspire change even among the most advanced civilizations. The simple music box, once just a token of goodwill, had become a symbol of courage, creativity, and the unexpected power of small actions. Lyra placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Today we have proven something important. The galaxy will see that humans are not to be underestimated, and Veora has learned that even the smallest ideas, combined with courage and collaboration, can protect a world." Ethan smiled. "Then perhaps this is just the beginning," he said softly. "There are so many challenges ahead, but together we can face them." Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the twin suns now setting behind the crystal towers. "Yes," she said, "and the story of today will remind everyone that courage, wisdom, and heart are just as powerful as any weapon or shield. And sometimes the smallest gifts can inspire the greatest change." As the citizens of Veora cheered from below, Lyra and Ethan stood side by side, knowing that their actions had altered the perception of humanity in ways that would ripple across the galaxy. Today the princess had stunned everyone with her courage and insight. Tomorrow the lessons of trust, ingenuity, and partnership would guide them all. Days passed after the battle, and Veora slowly returned to its peaceful rhythm. Yet the memory of the rogue fleet and the extraordinary plan that had saved the city lingered in every corner. Citizens spoke of the human who had helped their princess and of Lyra's bold decisions that had stunned the council and inspired the people. The small music box, once a simple gift, had become a symbol of courage and ingenuity throughout the city. Lyra walked through the crystal streets with Ethan, feeling a quiet pride. The festival that had nearly ended in disaster had now become a story of hope. Citizens waved at them as they passed, smiles bright and eyes full of admiration. Some whispered tales of the princess who had trusted a human, and the human who had proven that courage and cleverness were just as important as power. Ethan felt a mix of humility and amazement. He had come to Veora with nothing but a small gift and the hope of friendship, and now he had helped change how an entire civilization saw humanity. It was more than he had ever imagined. Lyra stopped on a high platform overlooking the city, her eyes reflecting the twin suns. "You have done something extraordinary here," she said softly. "Not just by helping defend the city, but by showing me, and everyone, the value of creativity, courage, and the smallest acts of thoughtfulness." Ethan shook his head. "I only did what I could. The gift was yours, really. You believed in it and in me. Without your trust, none of this would have worked." Lyra smiled, a gentle light in her eyes. "Perhaps, But together we have proven something important, that courage and wisdom are not measured by strength alone, that even the smallest actions given with care can inspire great change. News of their partnership spread quickly, reaching neighboring planets and distant worlds. Humans, often underestimated in the galaxy, were now seen in a new light. Scholars and leaders studied the events on Veora, learning that ingenuity and courage could shift the balance of power. Stories of Ethan's journey and Lyra's bold leadership became lessons for future generations. Lyra invited Ethan to the Hall of Stars once more. This time it was not for a meeting or battle plan, but for celebration. Citizens had gathered, and the council, now fully supportive, joined in honoring the human and the princess. Music filled the hall, a mixture of Veoran harmonics and the soft melody of the music box. The sound carried through the crystal towers, gentle and moving, reminding everyone that small things could hold great power. The council spoke first. Today we honor not only the bravery of Princess Lyra, but also the courage and insight of a human, who has proven that our understanding of the galaxy must expand. Trust, creativity, and partnership are as important as strength, and this lesson will guide Veora for generations. Ethan listened quietly, overwhelmed by the words. He had never expected recognition, but now he understood that his journey had a purpose far greater than he had imagined. The music box, his simple gift, had inspired more than he could have known. Lyra took his hand, a quiet gesture that spoke volumes. "You have reminded me of something I almost forgot," she said softly. "That the smallest gestures, the simplest ideas, can spark courage and hope in ways no one can predict. You have changed not just my understanding, but the future of Veora itself." Ethan smiled. "Then maybe humans are not as small as they seem," he said. "No," Lyra agreed, her gaze steady. "They are full of surprises, and I think the galaxy is only beginning to see that." The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the city in warm, golden light. Lanterns rose into the sky once more, floating like stars. The citizens cheered, their voices echoing through the crystal towers, celebrating not only the survival of their city but the courage, partnership, and unexpected heroism that had saved it. As the music from the small box played, Ethan realized that this moment would stay with him forever. A simple act of kindness, a willingness to trust, and the courage to face the unknown had changed the lives of countless beings. Humanity, he understood now, had a place in the stars, not because of strength or weapons, but because of heart, ingenuity, and hope. Lyra turned to him one last time before the lanterns drifted into the night sky. "The galaxy will remember today," she said, "and it will remember what humans and Veorans can achieve together. You have shown that even the smallest gifts and the smallest creatures can make a difference that echoes far beyond imagination." Ethan nodded, feeling a quiet joy. He had come to Veora with nothing but a gift and a hope, and now he had become part of a story that would inspire generations. He realized that courage, friendship, and a willingness to act could create ripples across the stars, and that every small act of thoughtfulness mattered. Together, Lyra and Ethan watched as the lanterns floated higher, carrying their light into the night. The music box played its gentle melody, a reminder of the journey that had begun with a small gift and had grown into a legend. The galaxy, vast and full of unknown challenges, now had proof that humanity could shine brightly, even among the stars. And as the final light of the lanterns glimmered in the distance, both human and alien knew that this was not the end, but the beginning of a new era, one where courage, ingenuity, and heart would guide the way through the universe.